Ladies and gentlemen, we are back in the studio.
What? Where are we?
Has it changed, Brent?
It has a bit.
It is different. Huh? Eh?
That's cool, huh?
I gotta be honest, it didn't go 100% the way I planned, but I'm in here over 40 hours a week, I think. Some weeks.
Ish.
I was when I was doing the collaboration class, which is over.
Thank God.
Thank God. And, now, yeah, I have a TV in here. It's cool. So we'll try to use that. That's our logo. It says things. You know, hey, if you're smart and you know how we should do that the real way, you drop us a comment, because I want to know.
Yeah.
And,
they're probably going to say, you need all these things. And we're going to say, we can't afford that. So, make sure it's cheap, and it will support our cause.
I do have a green screen fabric, but I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what anyone else would do with that. But I was thinking we could wrap the TV in green screen.
Something.
Then we at least have that. I don't know.
We'll see.
Someone else said try a projector. But, like, here are my thoughts. Either I'm hanging it from the ceiling, or we're getting, like, shot in the face.
It's going to project
We're wearing sunglasses.
Unless it goes... It's going to go right there and project, like, straight down.
Yeah, and honestly, we added no new elements for the people listening to us on SoundCloud.
We're not... Yeah.
Hey, if you're
Sound
listening
effects.
to SoundCloud, I will say you didn't miss 2 episodes we did during the voluntary... I guess it was voluntary, but the self-quarantining stuff during COVID. So check those out. I never put those on SoundCloud. Audio is a little bit all over the place.
Yeah.
I didn't know how people would deal with that, but...
We've been experimenting.
Yeah. Yeah, I did find a cool thing that turns your phone into a lapel mic.
Wow.
Thought we should look into that.
Maybe.
We'll talk about that after the show. So I remember how to do this. How was your life the past...
However long it's been. Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of fun and crazy kids and... getting projects done around the house, and man, I don't even know where to start, so I'm just going to say that the saga of quarantine continues. The kids are at home with my father-in-law and my wife, while I continue to go into work as an essential worker, even though I don't really see how that's possible, but anyways, I'm there, and yeah, it's going good. Honestly, the best thing about this whole situation is it makes me think about when I was a kid and my parents didn't have a ton of money to go on vacation all the time. So, like, I just spent the whole summer at my grandma's house and I thought that was vacation. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, right.
You know, and you're like, mom and dad can't control me.
Yeah.
Laying down the law as a 7-year-old.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Those are the days, man. So, yeah, that's what it's been a lot of fun being creative and just making the most of it, which I think is a true American trait, right? Powering through, just persevering, no matter what is against you. I'm not saying other nationalities aren't that way, but guess what, guys? We're American and we're going to make it through this. Hoorah!
Hoorah!
How was your weeks, months, however long it's been?
You know, good. So, still not back at the shoe shop. I had literally the busiest semester I've ever had in my life, though. So maybe it was a good thing. And we didn't want the kids being around our moms, just with some of the health issues, their higher risk and stuff. And for a while there, Chell had been pulled off of her job because she teaches a lot of classes and all that was, shut down. So they made her be a nurse, and what they made her do as a nurse was test everyone in the hospital for coronavirus. And so we're like, yeah, it's pretty high risk. So we kept the kids home for, I don't know, I think I had them for 3 months that they were here. And it was an experience. It was a different experience. So now, with me still not being back at the shoe shop, I still get to keep the kids. They're here with me 5 days a week, and they go to grandma's twice a week. And
you make the most of it.
I love it. Honestly, I really like being a stay-at-home dad. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I bought a new wagon. We got the Red Ryder with the pavilion.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's still the collapsible, which was important.
Yeah.
And then I was like looking online. You can build your own, and Yeah, it's way overpriced. Well, no. The Red Rider, you can like pick your accessories
Oh,
you want. No.
Courtney told me all about that, and I said, no, order the regular one.
Yeah,
We're not going to be in for $1,000.
Yeah, it's not like my fort up there. It's not like a building yourself.
Which, by the way, you've built not a fort, a fortress.
It's got
for
a
the
little
children.
control. It's fun.
Los Bambinos shall survive the nuclear apocalypse, my friend.
Yeah, and it worked out great for the 4th of July because where we live, the biggest was one of the biggest firework displays in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was the biggest. Did it have to?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The last few years, at least.
Yes,
We
and
towns
so
have done it.
we that was canceled. But don't worry, where I live, the neighbors did not disappoint.
It was still probably the biggest fireworks display in the state.
And so we climbed up in my kid's fort, which due to some bad planning, laziness, not sure how to cut 4x4s down perfectly.
Stuff.
I didn't want to mess with it. So my kid's fort is 6 feet tall. Found out that's a little high for children. My wife's like, "What's the railing for?" I'm like, "That's where they're gonna play." She's like, "I thought that was the roof." I'm like, "Oh no, the roof's gonna be."
You don't get it. We're halfway there, babe. They're gonna be reaching for the sky.
I'm gonna help them. I'm gonna help them get those dreams.
Man.
So it's tall, but it's safer now. There is, it's as safe as I can make it. It is.
It's sturdy, by the way, because I help, as an advisor.
Yes.
I checked it out, and it's legit. It's sturdy. So don't worry about his kids. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. I made a legit set of stairs. That's my biggest thing I'm proud of.
Yeah, man. Ran true stringers and everything.
Yeah.
Looks good.
We got the boards up on top. I used deck boards, and there's only like a 3-inch gap or a 4-inch gap between the boards, so they can get their arms through it, which is fun. Like, come on, people. They dropped the parachute guys. I got them those.
I mean, compared to the scary-ass shit I was building up in trees and the things we made when we were kids, like, I don't know how we survived.
Yeah.
Like, some of that stuff. I don't know how we survived. We either should have came out of the woods with less limbs and severe burns.
We were so young.
We're not at all.
We were
dude.
so young.
Yeah. I don't think, oh my God.
I don't know if we can tell those stories.
No.
I mean, they're...
No.
Yeah.
We're not going into that. Anyways.
This is why we need a Patreon.
That's right. Yeah, you can pay to subscribe to the things we don't want to admit that we've done. Because it's good stuff, people. It's worth $10 a month.
They're good stories. That is for sure. And what a better way to get to know us than to pay us.
Yeah, right.
So that's pretty much been my life. Was with the kids. We do walks. We go, Panera opened a new store up right on our downtown. So
you can just walk there.
Yeah,
it's right there.
I got the app, so me and the kids will walk up and we get cookies.
Panera's awesome.
I try to always get Chelsea something too, because she's working hard at the hospital. So we get her cinnamon rolls or bear claws. Which I found out I like bear claws way more than her.
Oh. Well, if you get it, then she doesn't want it. You can eat it.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, Panera, if you're listening, which I highly doubt, but if you're listening, way too much almond extract in that.
Really?
Nobody wants it. It tastes like Dr. Pepper.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Haven't had one of those for a while. See, I'm not a massive sweets person. Like, if I go there and get sweets, I'm probably going to get a muffin. Like a blueberry muffin.
Love muffins.
Poppy seed lemon muffin. Like
Love
those
that.
Yeah, man. I get down with some of that, or like a streusel.
Yep. There's really not a pastry I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, and so like those are my jam.
Hence the dad bod.
And I feel you, man.
Yep.
It's quarantine bod at this point, but guess what, folks? Doesn't matter because I'm not going to the beach.
Darn right.
Unless you're an idiot, and that's my personal opinion.
I will say there's safe ways to do it, but
not in Florida.
Correct. I mean more like in Seattle. Well, I don't want to use the word Seattle.
I'll put it to you this way: if you're not going to a beach where you don't see anybody, you're pretty much inviting yourself to problems.
Yeah, like we could go walk up at that park.
Totally.
Man.
Outside is fine. That is statistically proven that being outdoors and not in an enclosed space such as we are right now, within 6 foot of one another, such as we are right now, that you will not pass.
We are in each other's expanded circles.
That's correct. We have defined circles. I'm not kidding. That's legit. I don't really go outside of my circle at all.
And that's why it feels so good to be back in the studio.
Yeah.
I haven't had anybody in here.
We're doing it more safely than probably anybody out there is.
And
unless you're Joe Rogan and like testing people before they come into your house.
I know. Well, and I wear my mask everywhere in public still.
Yep.
I have hand sanitizer in my car. Like
Yep. Everywhere I touch. And ATM.
Should we go over to the COVID stuff briefly?
Sure.
I mean, like, the biggest thing, I keep getting in fights online about this. We wear masks not to protect ourselves, but to protect others, because there's a good chance you could have it and be asymptomatic and spread it without even knowing you have it.
Yeah, or have had it before, because there's a lot of statistical evidence and other anecdotal evidence that this was circulating through our population before it was well known that it was out there. Like, legit, I got pretty darn
Me and
sick.
you both.
Yeah, we both got pretty darn sick. The kids got sick. Wives got sick. And that was right before the crap really hit the fan.
Yeah, about a month before.
And so exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we had it, but it's totally possible that we got it. And
that's when I heard it was coming on. I'm like, not again. I don't want to go through another sinus infection. I got a big honker. If I can't breathe,
you got messed up.
I'm miserable.
Big time.
Yes.
It was like 2 solid weeks.
Yes.
Where
I
you
was
were like
out.
Incommunicado.
Yeah.
I remember you texted. I talked to you on the phone once, and I'm like, dude, you sound terrible. It's you sounded like you sounded like this. It was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I always like go back to about 3 years ago when my kids from the daycare gave me some kind of plague, and I literally laid in the couch wondering if I was gonna live. That was the sickest I've been for a while. I lost 20 pounds, and like, that's the sickest I've been in my whole life. Oh my god, near going to the hospital.
That's when we got that. SRV. No.
Dude, I don't even know. RSV, something, dude.
That's what we got from when Harry went to the.
And there was it's like there's just shit that goes around.
Yes.
And like, that's what I'm worried about. So back to COVID.
Yeah.
I am frightened about the fact that we're heading into flu season. Yeah, granted, it's early July. I get that, folks. But guess what? People are going nuts because they've been stuck in their homes, which I get. We go out as much as we possibly can in our backyard. We walk around the block. The kids haven't been to any stores ever at all for 3 months.
I started taking the kids to.
And you can safely. We just haven't.
Yeah, I do believe there's some psychological damage we need to accept that's going to be done.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
We're social creatures. Kids have to have that. Like, me and you are both lucky. Like, our kids have someone to play with. Like,
yeah.
And you had a brother growing up. Me and Shell were only children. I thought about that a lot.
Honestly, this would be nuts.
I would have been fine. I loved summer vacations.
Yeah.
Never ever wanted to go.
You get along with adults.
Yeah.
Totally.
I was like, I'll play my game. That's fine. I'll draw some pictures.
Yeah.
Write some music. But I empathize, and we took the kids because like every time I go to the store, they're like, "Where's your kids? Where's your kids? Why don't you?" I'm like, "Well, COVID, Corona." They're like, "We all have masks on. We're not gonna touch them." And
like, yeah, but what about everybody else around here?
I know, and I finally broke down, and I went, and they were honestly all really good. They kept their distance, like they were all very nice. They still managed to like give my kids things, which I was not crazy about, but. They went back to the bakery section and got them like some of the plastic rings that go on the cakes. And the next thing I know, they're getting balloons. I'm like, okay, this is over the top. And this is not the Kroger experience everybody gets.
Right.
But
I'm not Kroger.
I know. I shop at Kroger a lot. I love the people. I stop and talk to them. I'm always very appreciative of the stalkers. Stalkers,
not stalkers. Not the people who hunt people down and like creep on them. The people who put groceries on their shelves, like the hard-working laborers that they are. And I've been one of them, by the way.
Oh my gosh, why can't I think of it? They're essential. The
Yes.
essential worker stalkers.
Okay.
Not the non-essential worker.
Yeah, the other stalkers are not essential workers.
They're just not.
They're the ones you pick out of the tree with your .22 rifle.
Gotta give it a break. You gotta give it a break during these dangerous times.
So.
And that's pretty much all I have on Corona. I mean,
if you don't know what the hell is going on with coronavirus, then you're living in some kind of alternate universe.
Yeah.
You don't need us to update you on that.
Yeah, I will say my vet pushed back and said that there was a study he said, which he has not shared with me yet, that asymptomatic people aren't very likely to infect other people.
Well, that would probably depend on the environment you're in. Like, it's the whole enclosed space, the amount of like the whole
He's
we're
saying
talking
based on cultures, parts per million of the bacteria.
even if I'm talking in front of you and like spitting all over you and you won't even see the droplets that you're breathing in right now from me talking next to you.
I don't know.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all.
I don't see. That's what I don't buy either.
What I buy is I have talked to the pathologists, the microbiologists, and the other clinical lab scientists at where I work. I'm not going to name that company because I don't speak for them, by the way. I never will, because I am an independent person. I'm going to speak for myself in this instance, being very careful here. But what I will say is I've spoken to those people who are professional scientists. I trust these people.
Right.
Know what the hell they're doing. And they have told me not to screw around. Wear a mask. Don't get on an airplane. Don't go anywhere where you're around a ton of people unless you have to be. And just don't mess with it. It's about balancing risk versus reward. And the only reward you're going to get is not getting infected. And that's by limiting your risk.
I'm going to ask a fun question.
Sure.
You don't have to answer this on air. We can take this off air. Let's say the vaccine comes out tomorrow. Are you getting it?
If it's been clinically trialed and it works, then yeah, I'm getting it. Darn right I am. I probably will have to get it, to be honest.
I know.
Your wife will have to get it.
I know. I have no desire to be in the first round of that crap. Like, there's no way. Like, people are already saying it's starting to mutate. I've heard that. I haven't
It
seen
will,
that
though.
recently.
It'll be just like the flu vaccine, man. You'll get it. I get the flu vaccine every year. I don't love it, but I have to get it. And I've gotten something every year. It doesn't matter what it is.
How many microchips do you have inside of you, Brent?
Probably millions. I'm no worse off.
I am in no means serious. I don't
right.
like the flu vaccine because I don't like the rate that it protects people at. It's not a very high.
Correct.
High rate.
Well, like you were saying, it's not only the mutation factor; it's the strains.
Right.
The virus vaccines and any vaccine really, it only protects against certain strains, and as whatever viral is out there or bacterial, it all mutates and changes. To your point.
Yeah.
It tries to get you faster, quicker, better.
Yeah.
I just said two things were the same thing, but you know what I mean.
I'm with you, and I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm not at a high risk. I don't mind wearing a mask. I also don't go out in public when I'm sick. I'm a very big person about staying home when I'm sick.
Yeah. You just do what you can, man. And we're all in this together, like they say. We're not in the same boat, but we're all in this together.
Yeah. Right. Don't get on boats.
So what are we talking about today?
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Okay, we talk a lot about the right and what we don't like about the right.
Yes.
And talked about Jordan Peterson before on here.
Okay. Yep.
And I watched a video with him recently, and he was trying to question where the line is for the left. And I thought it was a really, really good point. And he threw out some things saying that, the right is for borders, both, metaphorically and literally.
Yep.
And because they're a fan of these borders, they're able to have, I would say, clear markers, because there's leaders. I don't use the word leaders. I'll get to that point. But because there's borders, they are easier to find. That's the word. Borders help you define things.
Sure, absolutely. Your scope of your stance.
Yes.
So to speak.
And the left tends to be traditionally for freedom.
Right.
Like, they push for freedom. And when you do that, he puts harder to see where the line is. And me and Brent were talking about this pre-show.
Sure.
And I want to emphasize what I'm talking about is the extremist line. Like, we know what the extremist right is. And that seems to be for everyone, is when we start saying that one race is superior to another. Everyone is like, that is extreme.
Everyone
don't allow
will be
that.
a Christian. Everyone will be white.
Yes, like, that is the extremist end of the right that we say no.
We will change nothing about how we are.
Yeah, and that's not allowed in our civic discussion, if you will.
Yeah.
But what is that on the left?
Correct. Where's the applicable alternative?
Right, and correct. And the one thing that I mean, obviously pops to mind right now in everyone's mind, if you listen to the president or watch the news, is Antifa.
Sure.
Which are anti-fascist.
Sure. Which is not necessarily like proven to be a real thing.
Oh, yeah. Everything that I've heard about it is that the FBI largely suspects it's more the extreme right posing as Antifa on the internet to start the violence.
To like represent something.
Right, and that came from a former FBI director. I mean, so
Right, they're not.
You
today,
show me your source, and if he's an FBI guy, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think one point that you may be not trying or maybe trying to overtly make is that the current administration, when I'm talking like loosely in terms of not just the White House, but everything that's associated with it, is not super forthcoming about, hey, Antifa sucks, but we're not going to tell you exactly what that means and where it's at and how it's coming after you. It just, like the president's using it as a blanket statement against things that are rioting and looting and all that kind of stuff, right?
That is absolutely correct. I am saying the FBI guy that I said that they're literally, it's the opposite of Antifa.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's representing Antifa. The
Yes.
opposite's representing, yes, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
On social media to
Right.
cause.
To create the threat that they need to be there.
Yes.
Just like, I'm not saying that the right is this, but historically, the Nazis created the evils that they needed. For example,
Perfect. I was going to ask
as
you,
an example,
what's the extreme right? And that would be Nazis. Yeah.
So, those individuals, that's what
Extreme
they were after.
left, who would you associate with that? Leaders in history.
Yeah, you're gonna start going into the Lenin.
Yeah. Soviet Union's a great example. And the other one, like...
Lenin's probably the best example, and he got corrupted.
No, he's the best example for you and me because of the books we read.
No, I mean in terms of, he didn't, in my opinion, completely initially bastardize what the left could be. Like, I think he really represented what it could be, that then it got manipulated in a lot of things.
Fair. That's a great point. And I will go with that. Because the one that I researched, because I knew very little about, was Mao. Chairman Mao. And he was,
Came from nothing?
Came from nothing. He was a soldier.
Yep.
They overthrow the warlords. He comes to the Communist Party, and he uses Marxism to form his, communist views. He has this, I think it's called a Little Red Book. I don't think that's right, but it was a Karl Marx publication, I'm pretty sure. Getting all this wrong. I'll put links to the research. These are not the stuff I wrote down.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make it I didn't want to make it about Marxism. I didn't want to make the show about Mao. I didn't want to make it about...
Just talking about the far left, what could it represent.
Yeah, and I do have things to discuss in better research form. But, so Chairman Mao, he overthrew, warlords, takes power, communist...
There was a somewhat capitalist system he overthrew.
I don't know the answer to that.
The warring factions were posing as such, from what I understand.
Fair. That sounds right. It does sound that it was still very old school.
Correct. But it wasn't like all for the people kind of thing.
It felt very like, I'm going to use the word kingdom and serfs.
Sure.
Like, that's the vibe I got.
It was like almost fiefdoms, but there was capitalism type elements running that.
That's the vibe I got.
Sure.
So Mao comes in and he's like, the land is yours to the farmers. You own the land. And that was great. And that was good. But then he has this 5-year plan, or the Great Push Forward.
Oh yeah. He had several of these
initiatives
that were meant to drive forward and make the country better.
And so one of the things he did though is he did a Hitler thing and he took over the youth. And it was called Mao's Red...
Oh yeah, brainwashing.
Something, yeah.
Yep.
Basically, he got them to turn against the landlords. And he was convinced...
Violently.
They killed the landlords. And then the state owned the property. Then the state took ownership of the farms.
Yep.
But
the state represented the people.
Right, well, so they're trying to do too much, and they're not doing a good enough job, and it's being mismanaged, and famine comes because there's
No coordination.
Yeah,
Yep.
floods followed by drought, bad farming seasons. And the cities were still able to get food from the villages, and as a result, like, entire villages, like, starved to death.
Yep. Wiped out. Yep.
Just completely wiped out.
Hundreds of thousands, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. It's horrible. It is a horrifying thing. And the thing I get frustrated with is, like, well, people say, well, communism hasn't ever really been true communism because it always ends up being totalitarian.
Because the people get corrupted.
But you can't fix that. Like, that
You
is
can't fix
going to
people.
be...
The system is what it is, but you have to enact it and actually use it the way it is. If you manipulate and bastardize it, which we've proven in every system that's ever existed,
Yes.
then you have problems.
So,
Every system has problems.
so I'm like, all right, well, I got to go further back then. I got to get to Marx.
Yep.
Karl Marx, and figure out what's going on. So Karl Marx, 1818, 100 years before my great-grandma was born, to 1883. That's a good long life for a guy back then, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I really like about it, is when he was alive, capitalism was kind of new. It was a new thing. And he saw the dangers of it. And I don't believe, like, this is the thing I'm going to put out there about Marxism. I do not believe it is the replacement, but I do believe it's the diagnosis tool. And like the video I said, they said compared it to like old school surgeons of like the 1800s. They were very good at diagnosing the problems, but they didn't have the technology to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Karl Marx did. Like, communism has this part about it where it has like an emotional understanding about how people need to feel as part of their society.
Fundamentally,
whereas capitalism doesn't. And he had these issues with capitalism. He said that modern work is alienated, that to feel fulfilled by our jobs, we have to see ourselves in the objects we create. And that all of the efficiency that came along with industrialization was great, but it didn't allow people to see how their contributions bettered humanity. If you're just packing ball bearings all day,
it's the whole self-fulfillment, and I mean,
But
it's
if
kind of,
you're-
and it's an old school look versus the progressive approach.
and I don't know why it has to be. I don't think it's old school. I think it's just human nature.
Well, you were talking about it earlier when you were saying the sense of like he came from a time before 1818. What was happening during his times? Things were changing, right?
Sure.
And so it went from you having cooper smiths making wooden barrels and like taking blacksmith shit from your own straight. You know what I mean? Like all the rivets and all, making barrels. Like just for that one thing.
Right.
Everything was custom made.
Yeah.
To where you're cranking out 15 widgets an hour because you're on part of the assembly line. You're not seeing the fulfillment of the saddle of whatever you're making.
Yes.
So I get what he's saying. That's
Yes.
I guess my point is that he's looking at it from that older world perspective, like the
Yes.
winemaker
Why it might be a
growing the
problem.
grapes and smashing them up and fermenting. You know what I mean? All that.
He called this. Do you want me to try some German here?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Entfremdung. Entfremdung. I think I have to say it more angry. Entfremdung!
Perfect. God,
think I
I
nailed
felt
it.
it in my soul.
Yeah, or alienation, or a disconnect between what you do all day, who you are, and what you ideally think you can contribute to existence.
Wow. Someone who didn't like this kind of thought process would be like, freaking hippies.
I
That's
know,
exactly
I know,
what they
but
think.
I honestly, I feel that.
I get it.
I've worked as a shoe
yeah.
cobbler for 15 years, and I appreciate the trade, and I find passion in what I do. I like to make things look great and make them look beautiful and new, and I find value in that.
Yeah,
But
I've
it's
put on additions to houses, man. I totally get it.
but it's not my. It's not what I want to do. It's not what it's not how I feel like I could ideally contribute.
Mm-hmm.
And
Your heart is still in the creative arts in some sense,
oh no, fully it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
whereas I create, but I create different things.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Like I create formulas and spreadsheets to figure out numbers and things.
I'm so torn on what my master's will be in, but I'm very excited to dive in.
Your Juris Doctorate, you mean?
I know. I don't know. I know. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a long road.
Yeah, right. Such is life.
One of the other issues he had was modern work. Capitalism makes the workers expendable. They're just a part of the cog.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a part of the machine. If production slows down,
right,
people gotta go.
Right.
And
right,
that's hard.
Right.
Because there's something about us as humans that we don't want to feel like we're useless. We don't want to feel like we could spend our lives doing something that doesn't mean anything.
I don't disagree with that.
I don't either.
But market conditions change regardless.
I am aware of that. But I think you accept the point that CEOs aren't taking dramatic changes in their salary to help keep employees on often. And I don't feel like that's the norm.
No, I mean, I think without totally trying to... I'm not trying to poke holes in this sentiment by any way.
Oh, you're going to have bigger issues with the next one.
I know I will, because I know I'm pretty familiar with Marxism, but I would just say that you're right. In business, the flexible workforce is just that. People get crushed. I've been a part of it.
Sure.
I know all about it. And I've been a part of both sides of it, making the decision and being the recipient of such decisions. But it's the same, like, if the market totally tanks and the small business owner, he probably will give up some of his salary to save his employees.
I agree
but
about the
totally
small
hits the fan,
business owner.
That guy's like, get the hell out. I can't afford you. I'm making my rent.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm with you. Keep going.
This is the one I'm interested in your take on. This will be the one where...
Should I get my knife out?
I know, we're going to disagree on this. Marx said that workers get paid little so CEOs can get paid more, and he called this primitive accumulation, or the fact that capitalists see profit as a reward for being, being clever, finding ways to cut corners, and Marx sees profits as theft from your workers, as other words, like profit is a form of exploitation.
I'm going to surprise you right now. In two ways, probably.
Okay.
One, this won't surprise you, actually. I do agree with the sentiment of the capitalists thinking of themselves as clever, and that's how I'm going to get ahead.
Yeah.
Now, don't tell me you haven't thought to yourself, woke up one morning, like, I got $1 million idea.
That's all. I caught you every
that's
time
all
that
about
happens.
that. Yep, that's all about that first part right there, man.
Yeah.
The second part of it is, though, the piece about stealing from your workers. That is absolutely true, but in the purest sense, and that's where freaking communism dies.
Yeah.
That's exactly where it dies, in that point right there.
Yeah.
When it becomes, yeah, it's theft for your workers, but guess what, man? I'm still feeding my pocket and have my dacha out.
I knew that wasn't gonna go, perfect, but
yeah. What else you got?
I like this one. This one I really was this one is right in my heart. Marx had hope for the efficiency of the modern economy because even though he was like, holy moly, we can make cars for everybody. He didn't see that as a good thing, but the good thing he did find in it was that maybe fewer of us would have to work. And this would actually give us freedom. And he was so disappointed to see it get a negative term and or a pejorative term like unemployment.
Yeah.
When we should be calling it freedom. We should be proud of how we can innovate so people don't have to work.
And so that's the thing where I wholeheartedly agree that the fulfillment of life, the whole life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness thing gets completely distorted and destroyed by the societal thought process of the fact that you can't be idle. You have to be doing something to better society, to better yourself. You have to be doing something. And I'm not totally off the bandwagon on you should do things that, you shouldn't just sleep on the couch all day and become a slob and, I mean, at the end, if you really want to do that, we live in a free country where you can do that and waste away into nothing. But That's not life, in my opinion. And real fulfillment,
Yeah.
though, would allow you more opportunity to do things like you're talking about. You have a golden opportunity with your kids right now, spending time as a stay-at-home dad. You know, in large part, like the school thing crushes you when you got it going on, and you can't just spend time with them all day like you want to.
That was hard because it was literally a new group project every week. Some of them had 6. Sometimes I had 6 co-writers for a week.
Sorry.
No, you're good. And the whole day I'm like missing messages. And,
Yeah.
And asking everybody, hey, can we please meet after my kids go to bed? And
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
hard to ask.
Because you're trying to get every second you possibly can with these little suckers, because every day you wake up, they're bigger and they're smarter and they're different.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just it. There's no opportunity for most men to take advantage of that. I'm not crying on people's shoulders as a white male saying, oh man, my life's hard. Not doing that at all. I'm just saying, like, there's some opportunities for any guy where it would be nice if you could take time every summer to spend time with your kids. Not just a weekend,
And
2 days.
and
And
that's-
guess what I'm doing on the weekends? I wake up, I mow the grass. My kids may or may not be outside with me. And then I'm watering lawn. Then I'm doing this, that, and the other. I may get still a
And
few hours
when
with
do
my
you get
kids.
the time for yourself?
Never.
That we all need. Like
Yeah,
we,
when I'm carving it out, when I'm not spending time with my kids.
Yeah.
And that's what crushes me.
I know. I try to be really respectful, like that. I know my wife's at work all day, but when she gets home, like, all right, I need a break. Like, I'm like, get changed, do whatever you need, but like, as soon as you're able, I need to like get away from cartoons and like.
And more often than you think, she's probably like, I'm actually ready for that. Because I am, man. I come home from work and I'm like, I don't want to see a freaking computer
Yeah.
for anything. I'll sit and watch cartoons with them.
Yeah.
I'll let Eleanor make me paint and whatever else. Like, I'll do whatever I can.
Oh, I'm a jerk, dude. I will not let them paint. I will not let that go. I'll let them do watercolors.
Yeah, ours is more of that. Courtney lets them do the paint, but it's
So
like a
does
gel.
Chelsea.
It's like a gel one that comes off, so I don't like dye. Plus, her dad's the one who's like cleaning that part of the house mostly, so I don't complain.
That's nice. You got that nice garage to do stuff in too.
I will have more space in that garage too.
Is there air conditioning in there?
No, not
No.
now.
Yeah.
Eventually,
Yeah. That's tough.
it is.
And we're like in the middle of a heat wave.
I have another wall unit in my basement I'm not using right now. I'm like, I might put that in the wall. It's hot as can be in that garage.
I bet, dude. Yeah.
I don't know if it's insulated though.
95 here today.
Yeah, it was brutal.
That's not right.
It's gonna get worse.
It's gonna get worse. I don't want to live here.
Where are you gonna go? Alaska, north to Alaska.
I'm not against Alaska. I saw that movie, this Fire Saga. It's a new Will Ferrell movie, and it's great. I can't.
That's a Netflix special. I haven't watched it yet. I just started watching Space Force,
Oh man, that's
which is
great,
hilarious, dude. I love that shit.
dude. And it got tore up in the reviews.
I don't get that.
It's amazing.
It's
so
hilarious.
you saw the second episode?
I saw it. Yeah.
Okay, with the dog.
Yes.
And the monkey.
Yes.
That is my favorite.
That episode was hilarious, man. And they like the tails float around like he ate the dog.
He's
Well,
no
you
longer
left
a
him up there
hero.
with no food, you assholes.
Yeah, I know.
I like how it's funny, but there are like heart tugging moments about it.
Yeah.
Like when he saves the daughter from
Yep.
those guys.
Yep.
And like I feel bad for the daughter because she's like being neglected too, and they're not making light of that. Like it's a
Nope.
clear thing. Like it's an issue. That's
Yeah.
what I'm waiting for is the reconciliation.
I feel bad. I feel like they crammed so much character development into her arc. It was really.
I want to know what the hell happened to the mother.
I know. Hey, we're talking about the left.
Yeah.
We'll do a Space
Sorry.
Force review anytime you want.
Oh man, we're gonna be
We
doing
could
like a
do one-
4-hour
we could-
episode.
I know. We could put it on here.
Yeah.
And we could just talk, do the episode. You want to watch us do
Commentary.
that? We'll do it. Okay, so Marx. That's
Yep.
where we're at.
Yep.
I said, I wrote this down. Unemployment should be a mark of an efficient society. We should aim to have people at home being creative.
But not call unemployment to your point.
Yeah.
It's called just your freedom, your time. whatever you
Right,
wanna
because
call it.
we should tax automation. We should tax things that can be taxed that put people out of work.
Well, and almost to the sense that there has to be some level of balance too, where when you create efficiencies, it just feeds back into societal benefit in the truest sense, not just it's efficient so I get a cheaper widget when I go to buy it from Walmart. It needs to like You're going to have
Yeah.
to at some point say that there's a quote-unquote universal basic income or something that provides
That's where
the
I'm
things
at.
income could give you. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you get credits and you can get this much of this kind of stuff with the credits. And it's a base amount of living that everyone can at least have a decent provisional from, and then you work from that. I don't know.
Yeah, and then you get rid of the welfare.
Well, and that's just it. And
It's
then,
in place of.
and so I like the idea of that more than welfare, in the sense that I don't want to get picked apart on this, but I don't want people to just get handed cash. Like when I've seen homeless folks and I've had an opportunity to help them, I try to give them something that's food, a coupon to get the food for free, something that is not. And I'm not going to be like, oh, I don't want them to spend it on booze and drugs and stuff. And that's not exactly where I'm going, but I mean, at least the benefit is there for what they really need.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I don't really care if they spend it on booze or drugs.
They can if they want.
And honestly, I'm not encouraging them. I hope they do it on food. But like literally, like when I give them the money, I'm like, it's their money. I'd always prefer to buy them the food. Like say, hey, I'm gonna go order something. What do you want?
That would make more sense to me. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
if that's what you're gonna do, you need some clothes. You want a pair of jeans,
Yeah.
like something that provides.
That's why you're
material
always
benefit.
coming over here with no pants on.
Yeah.
Terrible co-host. No.
What he means is
We're
no long
PG-13
pants.
here.
And everyone's gonna be like, "Where's his pants?"
This is the last thing I have on Marx.
Yep.
And then I wanted to talk about your thing with the defunding.
Yeah.
I thought this was really interesting, though. What did I read this for? Oh, I will read that. He said that capitalism puts economic decisions ahead of all others, and that it has so many domino effects that the biggest one, though, he talked about was the effect it has on relationships. That people are stuck in a place they don't want to be financially, or that all that stuff. That
Oh, it
people have
does.
to consider that.
Yeah, it creates societal constructs where you feel like you have to be successful to create the money to
And
be what
that's
you should be.
Not what love should be.
Yeah, well, no, and it's not about love. Yeah, I don't get you wrong. There's issues totally with that.
He calls it commodity fetishism.
Yep,
I love that name.
there's a lot to that. There's a
Great.
lot to that.
I was going to try to say the German one of that, and I was like, nope, I didn't even write it down.
No, it's gonna come out like I'm sucking dick or something.
I know, it was bad. It was bad. Oh, this is good. This is a writing from Marx. I'll finish Marx stuff with
This little
this
tidbit
one.
here.
Yeah, and this is from the German Ideology, 1845. Production, and thus make it possible for me to do one thing today and another tomorrow. To hunt in the morning, fish in the afternoon, rear cattle in the evening, criticize after dinner, just as I have a mind, without ever becoming a hunter, a fisherman, a herdsman, or a critic.
Interesting.
I like that. I like that idea of being free to do what I want.
Sure.
To be able to follow multiple pursuits.
I mean, there would be a lot to that, to be able to just get up and I want to do this or I want to do that. I get you.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly. Like, when you were a kid, and you're thinking about what you were going to do someday, and besides being a rock star, you know what I mean? Like, just being like, every kid thinks about it. Like, oh, someday I'm going to be rich, and I'm just going to do whatever I want.
Gonna be famous.
Yeah, and you see all those different things. People are like, I watched a documentary once about the Johnson and Johnson family.
Yeah.
And I'll stop with this, but the one of the kids, I think his name's Jamie Johnson. He did a documentary on his family,
Oh, I remember that.
and like he was like exposing to some degree, like, I'm rich as fuck, and here's what it's like to be rich as
Yeah.
like. And you know what? I think even back then, seeing that, you're just like, I just don't have an idea. And that kind of opened my eyes to the fact that most of us, even though we're like, oh, when I'm rich, I'm going to do this. When you're talking rich, we just don't have a clue how those folks even really live. Like when he went in to see his dad, and his dad was like in this massive room, is probably bigger than 3 or 4 of your houses, full of paintings. And the guy's sitting there with this, I'm sure just that board that he had with the paint on it probably cost more than my truck. And he's sitting there painting, and he told his son, he's like, I was hoping you'd just pick up some hobby like map collecting or painting. And I'm like, you want this dude to spend his whole life collecting maps?
Well,
Like
that's
that,
cool.
that, and that, John Adams said that something about, he had different like levels. He said that, his generation would have to fight a war so that his kids could be able to study arts and textiles, and then like they would do that so that their kids could study agriculture and some other things, and like they would do that so their kids could like work further up. Like he didn't have a Marxist idea or mindset necessarily. He was probably pulling from different historical things that maybe led to the same constructs.
Yeah.
But the idea is that we're going to fight the hard battles so our kids don't have to. And the reality is the world is so complex that it's not like you just flip the switch and it happens.
So, yeah, and that's why, and that again, if I haven't drawn a clear line, like I wanted to say, like Marxist is again, it's a great tool to diagnose the problems of capitalism, but it's not the answer. So again, this is one of the areas I think the left goes too far in.
Yeah.
When I see calls from people on Facebook that there should be no property owners, that bothers me.
Yeah.
That seems nonsensical to me.
Yeah.
And I don't think Karl Marx envisioned this.
Well, they didn't know what the future was going to hold, but I mean, they also didn't know, they weren't able to witness the quote-unquote experiments that were the USSR and that are communist China today.
The French bourgeoisie.
Because all that stuff, and there was a French Revolution.
The French Revolution. But see, that's the thing he saw the economic problem with. The economic...
Sure.
Because they couldn't marry who they wanted to. They had to marry for status, class.
Yeah.
And like...
But that was a bad example because there wasn't nearly the scope and the scale of the issues. That was a much more developed country. You know what I mean?
So that's one of the issues with the left is Marxism. Marxist views go too far.
I mean, at some point, it can't just be, and that's just it. Like I was saying, I think that's my point. The line, I was talking to you about this earlier. I don't know if there's a clear, in my opinion, line in the sand. Like, here's the line, you don't cross on the left and then you're too far. To me, it's more along the lines of when you get to that point where there's no return, where it's just simply where we're saying, well, we're doing it for the betterment of everybody, and we're providing everything for everybody.
Well,
it never gets executed that way, and that to me, that's when you cross the line. Like there has to be some independence, some ability to create your own existence beyond just society's helping you out for all of it.
Excuse me. Jordan Peterson's big answer that he got to, and again, I'm stealing his thunder, but his big thing was that the line in the right should be when one race thinks they're superior, that's the right, and he thought the line in the left should be equality of outcome, where we hold, because it holds everyone to the lowest standard, and
so everyone's on the same playing field, what he's saying.
Right.
That's the line.
And I like Jordan Peterson. I know he gets like, this is the other issue I have with the left going too far. And so his answer is that should be our line. When we start saying everyone deserves the same outcome, when it turns from everyone deserves the same opportunity to everyone deserves the same outcome, that's when things are going to fall apart. It's dangerous. Because who decides
what the outcome is?
Who decides what the outcome is? Yeah. Who decides what categories we are? Is it just men and women? Do we include race? Do we include gender? Do we include... And are we just talking socioeconomic? Because are we talking about how tall I am? Because there's studies that say because I'm short, I'm going to make $10,000 less a year per inch than somebody who's 6'2".
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of money. I'm a short guy.
Yeah, dude.
And I mean, so this is why equality of outcome, I think, does make a good thing. But
I will not disagree with that at all. Equality of outcome versus the equal playing field, like equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity is what we should all strive for and push for. But I didn't think that was a big enough answer, and that's why I put together this stuff. And you have answers too that we talked about. So equality of outcome is a great starting point. I would add to that Marxism is a great thing to help us fix capitalism. It does point out the views, or it does point out the flaws in capitalism, but it doesn't prescribe the solution. We should you cannot fix the flaws that are in capitalism, and there are flaws, without looking at Marxism.
Yep.
And if the left doesn't stop leaning on it as the answer,
Yep.
it's going to repulse
Downfall.
the right.
It's going to repulse everybody when it goes too far.
And that's what Brent's big thing was today. It's like the left sucks at naming stuff. They're bad at it. And that leads us to...
Yeah, man. It's just everyone and their brother winds up fucking feeling... I'm sorry, I'm cussing here, but it's just... It makes me
back on Reagan.
I know.
Yeah.
It makes me upset the fact that it just goes overboard and everyone feels like they have to have this society where you have to defund the police and you don't have any kind of rules, and it's the CHOP thing that happened out west where you just got all these people in this happy community, and it was not a bad concept. It's just like Marxism and communism, and I'm not
element.
Correct. It gets corrupted.
Yes.
When people feel like they're supposed to have some kind of power, when you get quote unquote elevated above your peers, that's when you have problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened out there out west? You had freaking shootings because people couldn't handle it and couldn't keep the peace. They couldn't live up to those standards that they put into for themselves. And I'm not saying that outsiders may not have come into that, but it's just generating an environment where there's no room to help you.
The outsiders knew they could.
Correct.
And that's the problem.
Correct. They weren't willing to accept it, though.
And the right is so good at naming things. Like, the right is like, they're coming to take our guns.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
You know? And then we're like, defund the police. And the right's like, yeah, that's what they're saying. They didn't even change it.
No, yeah. And I'm going to steal some ideas from a lot of people.
That's what we do here. We put them together.
Yeah, my biggest one, I listened to the talk Joe Rogan had with this former Navy SEAL commander. His name's Jocko Willink.
Yeah.
He's a really neat guy. I like following him and his exploits. But he pointed to the fact that, and I agree with this 100%, that the biggest issue with defund the police is, and I don't think that people who say that, for the most part, I agree with you. I don't think people who say that mean truly take all the money from the cops. I don't think they mean that.
Yeah, if you don't know
but
what
there
it
are
means.
people who do mean that, and in a literalist sense, that's probably the most idiotic thing you can do is getting rid of getting rid of the cops, having no police force whatsoever is crazy. Because yes, you can look back at history and see how modern policing has its roots in sustaining and maintaining the current societal hierarchies, like company police and policing that was incorporated by rich individuals. You have those elements that were out there, and those are the bully boy tactics, right? But a modern policing force is necessary. 100% need those people. And so a lot of the things that Mr. Willink was talking about was saying that, instead of defund the police, let's make sure the money is going where it needs to go, and making sure that there's a lot more training. Not just, I think there's only like some certain amount of testing that's required before you become a police officer, and then you don't have, there may be some other things you have to qualify for, but you don't have to keep pursuing training. It's not, you have to pay for it. And so I don't think it's fair necessarily to require that police have to, for me, as a business person, my experiences give me a lot, and that may be the same for police, but I'm not dealing with life and death every day, and I don't have a gun strapped to me every day, for my job. And so to me, the fact that, maybe and I think that there are opportunities for better training. I also agree with the standpoint that not every police officer going out there, and this is a different idea from someone I heard on NPR the other day. She was talking about how maybe not every police officer needs a gun because they're not the same kind of police.
And that's my favorite thing that I've heard about from the police. When you call 911 and you have a fire, you don't need the police.
Correct.
When you call 911 and you're having a heart attack, you don't need the police.
Correct.
What else?
So when you call 911 and someone's suicidal, you don't need someone running up there
with a gun.
Correct.
That doesn't have any real de-escalation training.
And that's the other piece of it. The training, how to de-escalate, how to handle psychological situations. Most police officers are subjected to so much that is damaging to them psychologically that they're just not prepared for. And it's not fair to them to just say that, hey, you got to dive into all this crap.
They get the warrior training.
Well, they get that, and I think that they get so beaten up by all these scenarios, and I'm not a police officer, I don't know, but I feel like all these different things are going to weigh on you. And that's the kind of thing that either makes you more empathetic or makes you numb. And when you become numb to things, it's harder for you to take into consideration people's perspectives. You're just dealing with the situation the best way you see fit, and the more numb you are, the less likely you are to use things that are not lethal, that are not as just take them down, just deal with it and be done with it and move on. That's where the mindset goes.
When I was in college doing my associates, I interviewed some of the police officers here and talked to them like what happens after a shooting or what happens after something, and they say, well, they offer a counselor, and I said, well, anyone ever use it? No. Well, why don't you do it? Well, it's looked down upon. Like I will put it back on this over and over and over again. Like, and my wife, like Jill, makes the great point that like these people see the worst of humanity day in and day out. They have to protect each other in scary situations. We're never going to break that bond.
And themselves.
Right.
They want to go home to their families.
Well, no. She's just saying, because my big issue is like, show me the police unions helping to weed out the bad cops.
Okay, and
show me the cops that weed out the bad cops before something happens.
That was something else that Jocko talked about. The fact that there's nothing wrong inherently with having a union and protecting the rights of people who are going to be put in situations that are extraordinary.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. You or I don't have to go chase down bank robbers that are armed or whatever, and I don't want to. So, do I want that police officer to be able to engage someone with a firearm if they have to protect themselves? Yes. If they shoot the robber and kill them, do I want them protected from prosecution because they had to save themselves and other people? Yes. But if they disarm somebody and hurt them, should they be held accountable? Yes. And so that's your point, right? The unions themselves, they need to step up here, and the members that make up that union are the ones that help decide this. They need to step up and say, look, we're not going to tolerate the BS. We cannot just protect one another for the sake of just doing it. There is right and wrong, and we're going to live by this stuff.
I was talking to somebody on Protect Their Identity I don't know if they want their view shared, but they were saying like they felt bad for the cop that killed George Floyd just because they didn't think that they knew they were doing something that could actually kill somebody.
Could be.
You know? Like,
could be.
And they thought he was just complaining.
Could be.
You know?
You know what's funny? You posted a person that was being taken down, that the videos that they were having a seizure.
Yeah.
I didn't get to hear the audio or anything.
Yeah.
But the only thing I was thinking about was, man, that's brutal. But I wonder if they really are having a seizure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying I have to have proof, but it's those kind of things.
Yeah.
Where
he was
should that
at the mouth? Which I don't know how you pick that up.
Should that cop have been punching that? They could have been on drugs or something.
Yeah,
it's totally possible.
True. Right.
Should that cop have been punching that dude in the head? No.
Yeah.
No, not by any means.
But like to the counter to that point, or the final it up or follow it up is like, why aren't police saying, "Holy crap, I didn't think what he did was wrong, and now he's gonna probably go to jail for the rest of his life and never see his family. Help me, so I don't do that."
Sure.
Like, and I don't hear that either.
I don't think that if I was a police officer, I think right now I'd be afraid to say a whole lot of anything.
They're not, dude. Look at the guys that run the police unions. They're out there running their mouths,
but
talking
they're the
about
unions,
how they're the victims. I
They're
know. I'm tired of them.
No, I know.
Really am.
But
and
it's those kind of people who make a bad name for everybody else. I know some cops personally, and I know they're good guys.
I know. I agree that too. But when the priests get caught molesting people, the Catholic Church doesn't come out and be like, "Hey, stop beating us up. We're saving your souls over here."
Yeah, right. No, you're right.
Like you take the PR hit, and like they're not doing that. Like, I want to see the cops say, "Yeah, he's a bad dude." Like, and we have other bad dudes. These are the steps we're doing to get him out of here.
No, that's just it. There needs to be a stepping up of the unions. That's where there's an opportunity that they're not taking advantage of.
And that's what I think. And to go on your
unless
point,
I'm not aware of it.
Well, same here. Like, I don't hear anything about that. And my wife was like, Well, do you really think that people want to hear a good story about the police right now? Yes.
I would love a good story about the cops.
I think everybody wants that. I think everybody wants.
I know there's lots
restored.
of them every day. We just don't hear about it.
I look for them and I share the ones that are good and they're sweet and they're nice and they're cute.
There's cops saving lives every day. Guy, there's a viral one that went out. The cops saving that baby's life.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, there's a ton of them, man.
But like they still need to be better trained. And
no, there needs to be better training, better assignment to what they have to do.
Yes, they need to be doing less.
Correct.
They just need to be doing less. They're not the catch-all for the societal failures
Correct.
of governments. It's like, hey, let's cut mental funding or health for mental funding. So we have so few caseworkers and stuff like that people are falling through the cracks and in violent situations that should not be there in the first place.
And that's where you have a better allocation of funds, not necessarily from the police, just some budgeting, right, where you say the cops have the tool to where they run a situation where they're not prepared to handle it and they can easily hand off to someone like you're saying. They can say, hey, I know who to call. I'm calling this code. Send this kind of person here. Because we know they're out there and they can take care of this problem.
And they're trained. Yeah, they're trained to deal with it.
Because I can't deal with it. And if they get their lives put in danger, I'll be here to protect them.
And so, like, this is, the other issue. Like, that's one of the issues we have with the left.
Yeah.
Is, again, they're bad at naming things. And again, it's too far. Like, you can't say to abolish the police. And
correct.
I'm going to talk about one of the other
left
guys.
media was like, Camden, New Jersey, to abolish their police. And then they brought them back because they couldn't just have no freaking police. They're just different police.
I totally agree with that model.
What they did was right, but I'm just saying, that's
right,
just
right.
That you couldn't just say no police.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, to say they just got rid of their police department is not the whole story.
Correct.
Like, the other thing we talk about is that the left likes to silence people.
Well, yeah, they're just as bad as the right at that.
Yeah, which is, I think
it's
the
whole
worst.
Polarization thing.
I honestly think they're worse. The left is big about silencing people, and like I watched a Glenn Beck interview, and he put it was Glenn Beck why the left might get really dangerous, and he talks about the left wanting to silence people. He talks about the government is becoming inconsequential because it can't keep up with technology. I think that's an interesting point. I mean, like, we can publicly shame people, like.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't the government supposed to be able to make? I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
That's not a bad point, but it's
an interesting point.
Yeah.
And he was saying, like, Google. I don't like his wording on this at all, but I'm interested in the point. Google creates digital ghettos. And what he was meaning by that, which is a terrible phrase, Glenn. Come on, Glenn.
Damn it, Glenn.
But what he was saying is, like, they let you talk, but then they change the algorithm. And, like, what is our free speech when it's curated? How is it the public square that they claim it to be? When you get on Facebook and they say most relevant comments, what the hell do you mean most relevant?
Yeah, no, I definitely have problems with that. The whole massively sponsored content and the algorithms that I get the whole. Gosh, it's back to freaking the whole thing about communism in the purest sense. It makes sense. Like if it only could have been done that way. It's the same thing with Facebook saying, well, we want to curate your content. Because I just want to share all the stuff that you'll like.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that you'll never see anything you don't disagree with.
Right.
And then that's wrong.
And me and Brent are progressives, largely.
Yeah.
So I mean, and we think this is too far. Glenn Beck obviously thinks it's too far.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and then I found comedians, John Cleese, of Monty Python. I mean, he said if people can't control their own emotions, then they have to start trying to control others' behaviors. He was warned not to play American universities anymore because people got outraged and offended by things, and you didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And then I love Ricky Gervais.
Yeah. He's one that it's like he puts me off sometimes, but he is funny overall.
I love his principles. I really do. He said, I see offense as collateral damage of free speech. I hate the thought of a person's idea being modified or even hushed because someone might not like them. And I agree. Like the left's like flirtation with giving up freedom of speech for safety from being offended.
Yeah,
is
like we were talking about earlier.
A line for
Yeah,
me. Like I'm not comfortable crossing that line.
You cannot say how I should be able to think. You cannot tell me how I should be able to say. But if I say things that are offensive, I should be willing and I have to accept the consequences of that.
What's his face? Stephen Fry said, people say I'm offended like it's some special thing. It's just another thing. It's just another complaint, another whine. Yeah. You're offended. So what?
Right. Right. What am I supposed to do about that?
I mean, yes, get over it. Like,
Yep.
And
this is where you find that balance, man. That critical balance of, like, you have got to be willing. And I told you about this. I put my foot in my mouth several times in different situations, saying things I should not have said. But if you get down to the brass tacks about it, I've never really blurted out anything that wasn't true per se. It was just because of my wording, I offended people. And I just, even though I wasn't intended to, I've done that before.
I'm well aware I'm ignorant of many things, and I may say things out of turn that it might be offensive, or they might be just incorrect because I'm not educated on something. But I'm open to be educated.
Yeah, and like
I'm open to learn.
When you do that kind of stuff, you just have to take a step back and say, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing my best to make sure, and that it's not, and that's just it. If I don't care and I want to deal with the consequences, hell yeah, I'll offend everybody. But who wants to live like that?
And, well, one of the other people that just came in under fire recently from the left was J.K. Rowling over some tweets. And I wrote one of them down. She wrote, if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into the merit of what she's saying. I'm going to get into the fact that the left is pushing for indoctrination. The left is pushing for people not to want to ask questions. They want to accept without understanding. And that, again, is the line for me. Lines in the left, I'm going to add Marxism is too far. That we name things that to try to offend people that go against our cause. And that
furthering polarization.
We don't let people speak.
Correct.
I saw Rainn Wilson, Dwight from The Office. He posted this thing about how to move into racial awareness. And the last step was to accept I unknowingly benefit from my race. And I'm sorry, that is not okay with me. You should not accept anything unknowingly.
Right.
You shouldn't. Like, that's indoctrination. That's how cults are formed.
Yeah.
And that's what, and if that's the left, if that's where the monarchy is headed, count me out.
The thing is, too, like, my problem is, like, a person that goes that far with it is probably pretty likely to just be completely offended by the fact that you may not disagree. You may disagree with that one point.
Yes.
And it may come even down to freaking semantics.
Well, and that's why I really appreciate what JK's doing, because she's really doubled down on her opinion and her views, and people can try to cancel her, but she's going to have the conversation. And she's sharing scientific studies and stuff like that. And I'm sorry, but the left cannot just cut people out of their lives because they don't fit the cookie cutter ideology that they have.
Right.
And it doesn't work.
Either you're in or out, right?
Yeah. The other big guy that I thought was worth talking about, too, is Brent Weinstein.
Yep.
If you don't know Brent Weinstein, please look him up. It is a prime example of the left going too far. Bat shit crazy too far. He was a teacher of evolutionary biology professor at Evergreen State College. 2017, they wanted to have a day. The college, wanted to have a day where white people couldn't come to school to show how few black people there were there. And he wrote a letter to all of his people, his fellow teachers, and he said that no decision. Nobody should be included or excluded on race. Like, this is a form of segregation. And the students revolted. They showed up to his class. They called him a racist. They wanted him to be fired. They wanted him to be removed. And then he went on Tucker Carlson, which I thought it was a really good interview.
Mm.
And after that, I guess some right-wing extremists started targeting the students, and that enraged the students even more, like it was his fault that idiots got mad or something. And these people were just, they didn't want to have a discussion. They wanted to shut him down.
Yep.
They wanted to cancel
I don't like
him.
what you're saying, so you can't talk.
Right. And
it's the same thing with the president telling that Bubba Wallace guy to apologize. He did not create the situation he was in. The
Right.
guy is just trying to fight for some rights and for the fact that he doesn't want to be in an oppressive environment. And guess what? The sport supported him.
Yeah.
And now he has to apologize because something that was... Well, now the
Trump
president wants him to
yeah.
apologize because the situation that he was involved in didn't turn out to be exactly what people thought it was, even though it could be construed as such.
Yeah.
Like, it's so messed up. Like, the president is the epitome of hearing what you want to hear.
Yeah. Right. Well, and that goes into Brett Weinstein's
Yep.
point, that the problem with the left is it's leaderless. That it basically is ran by these influencers. And my favorite quote he said about this was, influencers don't have the kind of power necessary to shape a movement, and they don't have the position to negotiate on its behalf, and this is very dangerous. And the people on the left can have this one, like, one of the article or the videos, I'll link it below in the sources, but it's a Vice News thing where they're interviewing some of the students against Brett Weinstein, and one of them is a black trans kid, and he says, your freedom of speech is not more important than my life. And I have to say, I fundamentally think freedom of speech is one of those things we should all very much put our lives on the line for. It's one of the fundamental things that defines our country and makes it great. And I push back on that. I don't think anyone deserves to die, but I do think freedom of speech is worth dying for.
If my
I
freedom
don't
of
see how it
speech...
completely equates to him dying either. But.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like, unless I'm, like, outright proclaiming that you should be murdered or something, I'm not trying to... That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't interpret everything I'm saying as something that's trying to kill you. You know what I mean? Like, your freedom of speech is not worth my life. It's like, okay, well, I'm not saying that those two are equivalent. They're apples and oranges.
Yep.
Like, speech may lead to you getting murdered, but hopefully it's not because of something I've said. That's not my goal.
I get really bothered by it. Like, I found this one lady online who wanted to document the racism that she experienced for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And all that I'm sorry if this is insensitive, educate me, but all that happened was 3 people touched her hair over the course of 2 weeks.
Oh.
And, like, at one point she snapped at someone, like, what do you think it was going to feel like? I bet your hair feels like straw because you dyed it so much. Like, she's a bitter person. And like, I saw this thing about Fox, about how it ruined someone's father because it made him angry all the time like that.
Yep. I didn't read that, but...
When you tell an entire generation of people that everything is racist, when you tell an entire generation that everyone's out to get them, when you tell an entire generation or encourage them to look for microaggressions and stuff like that, they're not going to be happy. Their lives aren't going to be happy lives because they can...
Right. They're out to prove something.
They're out to prove something. They're out to feel, because they feel like everything is against them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things Brett said was, people feel like the Great Leap Forward couldn't happen here, or Nazi Germany couldn't happen here.
Right.
And he's like, why not?
The Brits
We're
did
all
the same
just
thing.
people.
The Brits almost had it happen to them. Sir Oswald Mosley.
They're trying to they're trying to dismantle the things that make the West marvelous. And one of the things there is anti-science.
Mm-hmm. That blows my mind too.
Yeah. I looked it up. I was trying to look up about some of the biggest science institutions were tweeting out, shut down STEM. Like, that's what they do. They are STEM. And they were saying it's because there's not enough black people, minorities in general, in science. And so that leads to implicit bias in the studies that they do.
Thought science was science.
Please find me a link on this. I literally spent an hour trying to find any evidence, and all the evidence that they have is just the number of people in science.
Yeah.
And I found Neil deGrasse Tyson had a great point where he was telling his teacher, I want to be a scientist, and they said, well, Negroes don't do that, why don't you get into sports? Fine. That is bad. That is not good. But it's... How does that change what the scientists discover? How does that change
It doesn't.
It doesn't change that.
It doesn't change any of that. In fact, they should do more STEM to encourage more people of all races to, get involved.
It's just crazy for me that we would want to get rid of math and science, and it doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work at all. And I think the other thing I really just wanted to talk about was cancel culture doesn't work. Marxism doesn't work. Doxing, when you release everyone's personal information, that stuff is not good. Those are lines for the left for me. And I would say I looked up these 2 TED Talks on the power of debate, and one of the things shows that debate teaches critical thinking, debate teaches research, and debate then gamifies critical thinking and the research.
Oh yeah, I want to win.
And that in schools, that they're impoverished schools, people who didn't debate had a 22% likelihood of graduating, but people who were in debate had a 31% chance. And I know that may seem like I'm coming out of left field here, but I'm trying to say, people on the left, you're going to get smarter from having conversations. Everybody will. Yeah. And if you're stopping the conversations, you're going to let ignorance grow. You're going to,
It's the whole thing of how, and I'm not saying this is a perfect example, but think about what's been going on right now recently with Joe Biden. He's literally kept his mouth shut, for the most part.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to say anything. Trump is his own worst enemy.
Right.
And, it's those things about how, where if you allow debate, and he's been debating with Trump, fighting, they've been shooting barbs back and forth, he is smart enough to realize, and it's probably more than just him, but, they're smart enough to realize if he just keeps his mouth shut, and that's the intelligence factor that is brought in with reasoned debate, with logic.
Right. I want to read you this quote. It says, it was about loss. Loss of trust, loss of friendship, loss of faith in other human beings, loss of predictability in social relationships. And that really is the mark that the Cultural Revolution left behind. I feel like that could be said about right now. And that's what was written about Mao's China.
Gotta be careful.
We've got to be careful. It's a dangerous time. And the last thing I wanted to do, I put this up in our thing. Is this going to work? That says the dangers of the left. Brett Weinstein and J.K. Rowling. That's her face. There. Okay. Karl Popper. He's an interesting guy, and he wrote about the paradox of tolerance. Because you can't read that, I will read it to you. Unlimited tolerance must lead to the disappearance of tolerance. If we extend unlimited tolerance even to those who are intolerant, if we are not prepared to defend a tolerant society against the onslaught of the intolerant, then the tolerant will be destroyed, and tolerance with them. We should therefore claim in the name of tolerance the right not to tolerate the intolerant. It's paradox.
Yeah.
And, again, his name's Karl Popper. That's him on screen. The other guy I found that had a really nice, just quote about it. He says, while an intolerant sect does not itself have title to complain of intolerance, its freedom should be restricted only when the tolerant sincerely and with reason believe that their own security and that of the institutions of liberty are in danger. So, if you're on the left and you think Marxism is the answer, I would encourage you to think back, think different.
Think it through and do some more reading.
The one quote I would like to leave you with from Marx is that philosophy until now... Oh, sorry. Get this right. Philosophers until now have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it.
That's right.
Let's not go back. Let's not go back to Marxism. Let's not go back to communists. Let's fix capitalism. Let's add a splash of socialism in there, and let's fix things. But let's stop shutting people down. Let's stop cancel culture. Let's stop beating dead horses.
Yeah, let's stop naming things wrong.
Let's stop naming things wrong. Let the right do that for us. We need to find ways to make it easier to get people behind our cause.
And we need to know when to keep our mouths shut and let the opposite cause ruin their own cause.
Let's call it the Joe Biden.
Seriously.
We need to Joe Biden
Joe,
this.
man.
We need to let the right shine a light on the right. Like they have been. And that's why his numbers are falling. Mm-hmm. That is why 80% of America is okay with face masks, and Trump is still so ignorant about it.
The guy cannot let go.
He can't let go. We were going to do polls and stuff, but we're already an hour 20 in, and I don't want to kill everybody. I know Brent's got an 8 o'clock meeting.
Yeah, man. You know me. Living that dream.
Hey, thanks for coming back, being in the studio.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for getting the TV set up. We're going to have some more cool stuff on there. You guys watch.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you can see it. We got to figure that out. There's got to be a way to do this better.
We will. Don't worry.
Yeah, that was our first step. But thank you for watching. I missed you all being here. And we'll probably be back next week.
We'll be back. No worries.
I'm not going to say next week, because if I do, it won't happen. But
that's right. We will be back.
Say it, maybe it'll happen. So, all right. Have a nice day. Have a nice week.
Take care, all.